Hi everyone, Michelle here from the Junk Journal Studio. Well, I'm here with a different type of video today. I've had a few people lately ask me in our Facebook group, how do I store like all the big botanical collage and cluster mega pack, because there's like a zillion little bits and bobs and stuff. And then also the last few videos I've done, I've had people asking about how I make my ephemera binders. And I just have a couple of other storage things that I want to show you as well. And maybe something will be really helpful to you. So we'll get started. So when I am creating a journal or working with one of my current digital kits, I kind of have three ways of storing it. One of the ways is through my ephemera binder here, which I made, and I'll tell you how I made in a moment. And so what I would do is I would cut out all my bits and bobs from the digital kit, and then I would just fill this binder, and then it's super cool because as you're creating, you can just flip through and you can see everything that you have. So it works really, really good for that. I just threw a few pieces in there so you guys could kind of see some ephemera in there. It wasn't the chosen method I have for my current projects, which is with the new pink on for the Botanical Collage and Cluster Mega Pack series. I've chose to store them a little bit differently, or I should say organize them. So this is the binder. I'll just show you how I organize them in different ways, and then I'll come back to the binder and give you guys some tips and let you know how I made it. So I have these fun trays. I used to have trays that were meant for like putting your Christmas candy in, for example, or different dips or what have you. So they have the different sections. And so I've used those before. I've ran across these at a thrift store. I'm not entirely sure what they were meant for, but I do really like them and they work really good. So with my new pink add-on kit, I just have all my banners and my arrows and is that it? Banners and arrows. Yeah. And then tiny labels, and then medium size labels, large. So tiny, medium, large. Then this is actually my ephemera, which I'll show you in a minute, but this is it in its tiniest form. And then here I have rounds and I have octagons and some buttons and such. And then these are all no real focal points. I mean, some you could, but for the most part, there's no focal points in this tray. And then this is my focal point tray. So I have more rounds and the octagons, but with images on them. I have some fussy cuts. The other fussy cuts are in the binder. I have my stamps of different sizes and some ephemera bits, and then labels and more ephemera. And yeah, so those are more of the focal points. Oh, I see some fussy cuts down there as well. And then how I carry on with my organizing. So when I'm playing with my digital kit, I have my focal points, I have my other little bits, and then I have this basket, which came with two smaller ones. You could take this out and have two smaller ones. You could have four smaller ones. And so I just have lots of my pink ephemera here, and then the little bits and my tickets. Then I have some of my strips, green ephemera, and then I have my green tickets here at the edge. And then these are a little bit more neutral. They have more neutral tones to them, and then some ephemera, and then some neutral tickets. And then I just have this little basket that has some of the words from one of the other botanical kits in there. And then I have, just a second, I buried it. I'll be right back. I have behind me in a cart, I have this basket, which has all of the pages from the kit just printed on, I don't know, I think it's like maybe a 28-pound paper, and then just binder clipped together. If I wanted a page, I can just pull it out, put the binder clip back on, which really helps me because I can also, sorry if this is too close to your face, I like being able to do that too. So I find that really helpful. These, for the most part, are either full pages or very large pieces of a page that are in a cardstock. So that's what all of those are. And then all my little scraps and bits and stuff, and all my cutoffs and everything are in here. So large pieces, card and paper, and then all my little bits and stuff in there. And that sits behind me. And that's basically the entire kit. And that's how I've been playing with it lately. When I am creating a project and I want to use my binder, let me just set this aside. If you've purchased many of my digitals, you know that almost all of my digitals come with a large, medium, and a small size in all my ephemera. For example, you can see these labels. This stack here is large, there's the medium, and there's the small, and there's actually large, medium, and small stamps, and so on and so forth. So I created my ephemera binder to work with my digital kits. So I have small, medium, and large in behind. And so if you look here, I have my butterfly large, so I pop him there, and then medium and small. So I can get a lot, like my kits are ginormous, that's why it's called a mega pack, and I can get a ton in this binder. I mean, I can have them a lot closer together, kind of overlapping a little bit, like that. And I mean, I could get like 5 or 6 different colors of butterflies here if I wanted. And so that is super handy. And then there are some pages in here, I believe. Yeah, see, these ones are just one big section and then another big section. So you could totally put like this type of ephemera in there. You could put the larger and then the smaller size or what have you. And so it works really, really well. And then in the back, I believe in this one, yeah, so I've come across these in thrift stores often. They're just like little plastic envelopes, and they go into a little 3-ring binder. These are actually plastic envelopes that I bought for my stamps and die cuts. And I just punched holes in it and put it in here, because then it's just another place to place pieces. And I did have a big pocket here, but it ripped. But a large pocket in the front and the back is great, because then you can take all your bits that you have not fussy cut yet. For example, let's see here. Well, you know what I mean. Just putting sheets of paper and half sheets of paper and such that aren't cut down. And yeah, so it works really, really well. What I did was I took my, for this one, I just went through all my scrapbook paper, really. And for the most part, all these here are just, you know, pages. I think there's a weird face on this one here. It's circusy or something. And so ones that coordinated together, you can see there are all these neutral tones. Oh yeah, there's a weird face, a clown. I guess it's not weird, but it's a clown. This is cool. But, yeah, so that it coordinates, so it's kind of pretty. And so how I make these, I use file folder. And for this particular one here, they are 2.5 by 6. So I cut a whole bunch. I kind of assembly line it. I cut a whole bunch of 2.5 by 6 pieces of cardstock. You can use any cardstock. I was using file folder. And then you can use, for the plastic here, I'm not sure if you can see that on screen, but I know that when I was putting the fussy cut in there, you could tell that they were going into different slots. You can use transparency sheets, which is primarily, I think, what I've used for all of those. And I just come across them at the thrift store sometimes. And so there they are there. And a little goes a long ways, because I believe these are only 1 inch. So yeah, 1 inch by 6. And then the one in behind it is 1.5 by 6. And so you can get a lot of strips out of, you know, 3 or 4 pages. You could probably create the whole binder. And I was also sort of thinking that maybe if you didn't have the transparency film, you could try laminating sleeves and put it through your laminator and then cut that up. I'm not sure if that would be too thick or not. I have in the past, a long time ago, made these with page protectors, but page protectors are kind of stretchy, and so I find that they don't stay as taut as the transparency film because there's no give to it at all. So I cut all my file folder, then I cut all my strips of transparency, and then I grab my Arts Glitter Glue, and all I do is, oh, that's barely, but it doesn't matter. It's just a prop. I just put a tiny dot on this one here, one on each side, just enough to tack it on, and then another tiny dot here and here. And then I I sew it like that. And then it's one piece, 1, 2, 3 pieces here. And then I glue it to the binder page on these 3 sides, the 2 sides in the bottom, I should say. The neat thing about this sort of storage system is if, like, I have a whole botanical series, there's, I think, 5 colors now, and you could create a really big binder and you could make your pockets the exact size that you wanted for whatever you are working with. So that's super handy. Now, I have made a binder that I haven't finished yet, but it's for some of my labels. And so I've got my blues here, and then greens. Doesn't look like I put my green labels in there yet. And I believe okay, the height of this one here is 1 3/4, and then that's 1. So this is just a 1/4 of an inch higher. And this one is the same, not quite as wide. Those are 5 1/2, but I just didn't want to come out past my edge of my binder. So they do work for tiny little bits like that. You can see I'm turning the page and they're not falling out, which is great. But they do kind of shift around and move around a little bit, and so I'm not super keen on that. I haven't decided yet. As you can see, I have this whole green section. I haven't filled it up yet. So I'm not sure how I'm going to attempt that. Here is another plastic envelope. I just get them off Amazon, and I'll show you some other bits and bobs that I use these for storing. And what I did with all of my blue labels, or not all of them, this is nowhere near all of them, but for these labels from Days Gone By digitals, I just put all the tiniest pieces in here because they would definitely fall out if they were there. And that works really well. So you could just dig around, find what you're looking for, take it out of the binder if you need to. So that is one created for labels. Let's see, you can see one just sort of slipped out, which isn't a big deal. But, and I think, is it this binder? I wanted to show you guys something else. Oh yes, here it is. Okay, so on this page here, there's a huge deep pocket here. There's a shallow one here, a shallow one here, and a shallow one here. And those were made, this was some experimenting I was trying, with clear adhesive index card pockets, 3 inches by 5 inches, that I bought on Amazon. So they just peel off. They're like a sticker, and you just stick them on. So no need to sew or anything. I'll just grab some ephemera here to show you. Of course, there's not one, it doesn't step down to different sizes. It's just one little pocket right there. I'm imagining you could put a small one across there to create a smaller one. But yeah, it works pretty good. So that's definitely an option as well. These are the small thin ones. and Amazon, and then the bigger index card pockets. I'll try to link, if I can, the materials that I've used that are from Amazon, so you can pop over and take a look if you'd like. So yeah, that is an option as well, and that is the binder system. Another way I go about it sometimes, if I'm working on a project and I'm using a really big kit, is to use baskets. So for example, I have a huge stack of these baskets, and they all fit one into the other, and so they are great for putting you know, you could have fussy cuts in one, labels in another, Teacards in another, stamps in another, and then just sort of put them at the edge of your desk wherever they are out of the way but easy to grab, and you can create that way. And so you could actually, if you have a shelf to put it on, you could fit a lot of bits and bobs in these baskets. The only con to it is if you can do it like this, obviously, or this, obviously, you don't have to lift and guess which basket do I find my fussy cuts, because they're just sort of all there. You could, I suppose, you could put a little piece of masking tape that says fussy cuts on it and stick it on there, because it just peels off. Painter's tape or something, it would peel off easily enough. So you could actually even label them if you were going to be working with a project for a while. So that is another option that I find really helpful. I find it happy too, but helpful was the word I was trying to go for. Now, speaking of baskets, I have started to cut out a lot of my labels from days gone by, which is huge. I think there's like 9 different kits in all kinds of sorts of colors and stuff. And so I've decided for my labels from days gone by, I am going to use my basket system, and it is working great. You can see I just grabbed a Sharpie. We have every color. That's supposed to be pink. Every color, even your turquoise and purple and orange. Not a lot of orange, but I do have some. And as you can see, I can put that on a shelf, and it literally only takes up 6.5 inches high, and then the size of the basket, which is like 9 by 6, pretty much 9 by 6. And then I actually have it broke up into 2 piles, and one of the piles is my more popular colors that I would use more often, not pinks and purples, and yellows, more of my neutrals, blues, greens, reds. And then I would have the other stack right beside me. And yeah, just super, super easy. If I just pull this off my shelf and I want green, there I am. If I want red, it's not in there, but it will be in there. Blue. And then when I did just like my binder with my other labels, I just took the tiniest pieces and put them in here, so that, you know, obviously if I'm looking for something small, it would be hard to find in this. So these are the medium and large sizes, and then these are the small, tiny sort of sizes. And it works really great. So I'm super happy with that. So that's another way I organize. Now I do also have, oh yeah, I'll show you. I think this one was made, this is my Teacards, like my fancy masking tape, painter's tape label. These are made with the file folders. And you can just sort of see, like I tried to pull as tight as I could, but they kind of bag out after a while after you've been putting stuff in there. And so I'm not a big fan of those at all. And then I've also seen them made with vellum, but I'm rough. Like I need to be able to dig around, and I'm not going to be breaking and ripping stuff. Oh, sorry, let me close my window. Somebody outside is using a power tool. Go. Yeah, so these are my Teacards, and this was before I started doing the large, medium, and small sort of idea. And I think I would like that to be in here as well, not just the one slot. Even though in my Teacards, do I have different sizes? I don't even know. No, I don't have different sizes, but I still think I would like a few more layers. I think you can just get more into the binder. I do kind of have these are the florals. Let's see, those are florals. And here, I mean, we have some mushrooms and strawberries, and then we have the sepia ones. People, sepia, color, people, birds, color, butterflies, color. So I have it organized like that. And then I have a couple of big pockets in the front and then also in the back. So if you're halfway done cutting out a digital and you want somewhere to store it, if I had it back, I would put, whatchamacallits. The word is escaping me. Oh my, to make it so I can fit more in there. You know. Okay, so I grabbed my phone, tried to Google when you put your crease your fold lines on your scoreboard, tuck it under so you can fit more in there. For some odd, weird reason, I cannot for the life of me think of what that's called, which is kind of embarrassing, kind of weird, and maybe a little concerning. Anyways, I think probably most of you know what I'm talking about. Now, there is another way that I store my ephemera. I have baskets like this. I buy these plastic envelopes. I bought, I just buy like a 20 pack here and there. I haven't for a long time now because I have lots. And this is where I have all my flowers and yeah, I have bows back there. And I really like this because I grabbed a label paper and colored a little section of it yellow, another one blue, orange, pink, white, red, purple with my Sharpies or markers, and then just used my little hole punch. You could use a little square label, anything really, any kind of label that you can color. And then I'm able to easily look at my flowers and say, okay, I want a blue flower, bang. And the way I have them organized, there's 3 envelopes, because again, I don't like to dig around a ton. I have tiniest, medium, large is how I've got it sorted. I don't know why I have 4 yellows here. Oh, this is from a different kit. And so I have tiny, medium, and large. That's how I do it. And so it's just super fast and easy. And then just dig around. You could have a little tray that you bring out, which I do have. It's just the lid off of a little box. And so sometimes I'll just pull them out and then I can sort through them a little bit better, find what I'm possibly wanting. There's a lot in this one. I don't think it's sorted properly. And then just put them back in the envelope. And there we go. So that is another way that I store them. And I have these are my birds and my butterflies. So white, yellow, orange, blue, green. Then I have some here. These are roosters, mixed feathers and nests. And then all my butterflies, pinks, reds, oranges, so on and so forth. These I just have them in 2. I have them in the small, medium, and then the larger sizes all the way back. And then I have different types of butterflies from book pages and some type of stickery stuff. Yeah, I even have some die cuts here with feathers. So anyways, this is my birds and my butterflies. And there is a ton in here and it only takes up this much space. So I can take a shelf and have these 3 baskets, which I do, sitting on the shelf. There is a lot of fussy cuts there. And it's only taking up like 18 inches, so 19 inches wide by whatever that was, 9 inches long. So it works really, really well for me. But if I'm working on a digital kit, I usually do the other methods that I showed you. I either use this with my little baskets, or I use just stacking baskets. I have a whole bunch, like I have a whole bunch of different sizes that are all stacking. Like this, like these are a bit bigger. Or I use my handy dandy ephemera holder right here. So I think that is all I wanted to show you, really. Oh, no, that's not true. There's something else I want to show you. Just grab it here. Okay. So when I am completely done with a digital kit, like my digital kit series, I think there's like 6 digitals in it, Spring Bounty series, I have started to create these and I love them. So I want to put this away in a little container or an envelope with the rest of the Spring Bounty ephemera and pages and my leftovers. There's always tons of leftovers because my kits are huge. And so what I've started doing is these are actually page protectors. And sorry, let me backtrack. When I was creating this one, I was using the basket method. So I had all my reds, whites, and pinks, and I had yellows and blues. And you can see they're still sorted like purples. And then I have frogs and dragonflies, birds, butterflies. And it's a lot of work to organize them that way. And I don't want to have to reorganize them if I want to create with this again. So these are great because now I can just take it out and throw it into my container or my binder if I'm using that. So this is how it gets stored and put away, not on my shelf. And so I like that. So I'll show you how I do it. Let me just grab. And if you're worried about pieces falling out the top like that, you can, oops, that bird is not a flower. Grab a, I was going to say clothespin, paper clip, and you can just paper clip it like that, and then nothing is going to fall out. So how I make them is I grab a page protector. Now I do get the more heavier duty page protectors and I buy them on Amazon in a really big box. Again, I'll try and link that below. And they're really good quality. They don't rip easily. And then I grab just anything to protect my surface that I can fit in here. So I use this book cover and I fit it in there. Isn't this the book cover I used? Thought it was. Come in. Oh, there we go. So I just measure up where I want the bottom pocket to be, and then I just grab my X-Acto knife, my ruler, and then I can use my cutting board. So if I have this down at the very bottom and the bottom of it lined up and I want it to be, 5 inches high, that would be on the 20 here. So I just go like that, line my lines up, cut it like that. And then I have my bottom pocket. And then for the top pocket, you just need to sew it closed again because it's got a slit and it's open. So you just cut or just sew right along that edge, that's it, and you close it back up again. So I was kind of thinking you could actually sort of do this and make it all narrow, or just make one like that. So again, take your board, put it in there. You wouldn't even have to cut it here, just sew it in a straight line down to where you want it. And then depending, you'll probably have it open, let's say like that. And then you would just have to sew across the bottom. Yeah, so just sew right here and sew it closed. And you would have 2 small and a larger. So lots of possibilities with that. So I thought that was really handy and worth showing you. I think I'm going to really like that. And then that way, if I want to pull it out, like I said, everything is still really organized, which is what I like. And then I just put it in a little container with my rest of my papers. Another thing that I do when I'm creating is, I know this might be overkill for some people, but for me as a digital designer, and then also because my kits are so huge, a lot of my mega packs and series and stuff, and they also work really well together, I print all of my pages for a digital 4 to a page. So if it's 40 page digital, it's only 10 pages. So it's not, you know, you don't use a lot of paper, and I'm on an ink program. And the reason that I like that is here's my botanical mega pack series. So there's my green neutrals, there's my blues, here's my reds, here's my yellows. Here is my new pink one. I don't have the cover sheet for it. And so it's easier sometimes for me to go, you know what? I think I have a red bird I would really like. And so I go to my red and I see in my fussy cuts, where are you? What? Okay, we have those. Is that all? There should be flowers. Where is the flowers? Did I skip a page? Sorry, bear with me for a moment. Aren't those gorgeous? Oh my gosh, I love them so much. I must have missed a page. There's some fussy cuts there. Oh, there we go. Sorry, you guys, it's at the very end. And so I can see these are the birds that are in the kit. These are the flowers. These are the butterflies. These are the leaves. It also helps me when I'm designing, because when I created my pink kit, I already had the base neutral, blue, red, yellow, green. And so I didn't want to use the same flower or the same bird or a same element. So I was able to just quickly check back and see. And so when I'm creating with this, which I am right now, then this sets on my shelf just in case I need to look at it. And then it's a great way to just catalog all your digitals. You could put them in binders if you wanted, and then just write down the spine, the different kits that are in there, maybe that sort of coordinate together, maybe by theme or by season. And then you can thumb through and you can see all your digitals. So I find that really handy. Another way that I store my digitals is I use binders. This is my 30-page set 3 William Morris patterns and textiles. And what I do is I have these little stickers here. Now you don't have to do this, but I like doing it. That's actually page 1 in the kit. That's page 2, page 3. And the reason that I like those little stickers there that I put the numbers on is because when I'm thumbing through here, if there is an empty sleeve with the number 6 on it, then I know I need to print more page 6. So then anytime I'm wanting a beautiful piece of pink paper, I'm able to go to this binder and grab it because there are multiple pages. These are a heavier duty sleeve, like I said, and you could comfortably fit, you know, at least 10 pages. There's quite a few in this one. It looks like I have about 6 of this page. And so that's super duper handy. I really like that. And you could put in the front of the binder, and I probably will actually, is I'll print 4 to a page and just have a little, you know, it'll end up being, what is that, 8. It's only going to be like 7 pages to flip through, and you'll be able to see all of these in a smaller size so that you can shop your binder. So I find that very handy. And then I've done the same thing with this printable vintage wrapping paper. Is like there's several in here of that. Isn't that beautiful? So pretty. Look at that. Aw, love it. Oh my goodness, they're so pretty. Anyways, yeah, so, and see, there's my page numbers there, big and bold. So I really like that way of storing my pages. And then I just have a couple of shelves, and they have the names that I printed and put on the spines, and they're just all lined up, and I can see all of my background pages, my freebies, different digital kits. So that is another way. I store my full sheets of those types of digitals. That is a lot, I know, but hopefully you found something along the way that you thought, ooh, I want to do that. That would work for you. I think it's sort of always an ongoing thing with most of us junk journalers that we like to organize for some reason. And if you have a lot of stuff, it's really, really important to organize, or you feel totally overwhelmed, especially with my kits. So even when I'm creating with the botanical series, I have all my pink stuff like I showed you at the beginning in here, and then in my other baskets, and then my pages are behind me. And then I have this little book here that I can look at if I want to see other birds or foliage or, you know, collage pages in the series in there. And then I have my bigger plastic envelopes, and here are the kits that we were just looking at in the red duotang. Here's my yellow, there's my blue, there's my red, my neutral base, green and neutral colors. Here's my freebies, and my pink obviously was already cut up in my trays and baskets, and that just sits there in front of me as well. And yeah, I just had a few of you guys asking, so I thought I would pop on here and show you what I do. Thanks for watching. Bye.